Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Real Loan Experts, where we discuss everything about real estate and loans. My name is Ray Warda, founder of Loan Experts and broker of Loan Experts, NMLS license number 1726160. And we are a California mortgage brokerage, NMLS license number 1733758. And in today's segment on Real Loan Experts, we will be discussing home buying and selling and the whole market update as far as the forecast of what's going on in today's market. And I have two special guests that will help me with this. Their names, and they're exceptional realtors in the Central Valley, Dena Moore and Jonathan Moore. And I want to personally welcome both of you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Ray.
Awesome. I'm very happy that you both are on. I know we've got great experience here on this panel, and it's always good to give our experience and share it with the public and give them knowledge of what the whole real estate market's like in this current market that we're in, and just kind of give a forecast.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So I know you guys are both from the Central Valley area. So tell me a little bit about what areas you cover specifically and kind of an introduction about both of you.
Okay. Again, my name is Dena Moore. I work with Marker Real Estate, and my DRE number is 019-11883. I work the Central Valley. Sometimes I go into the Bay a little bit or the foothills, but Central Valley is where our focus is.
Awesome.
And I'm Jonathan Moore. I'm also with Marker Real Estate, and my license number is 0210-3979. I'm just getting started in this. I've been helping out for quite a while. But yeah, we service the Central Valley area, mostly Manteca, Lathrop. Now we're focusing more on Modesto area. So
awesome.
Can't forget Stockton.
Stockton, that's right.
Lodi.
Yeah. So the general San Joaquin and Stanislaus County areas are your pretty much the coverage areas that you take care of.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into this because I know people want to hear some stuff about the market and what's going on and all that good stuff. And I want to start off with the home buying part, the home buying experience and what that's like, because I get a lot of buyers, me as a lender. They come to me and say, hey, is it a good time to buy?
Yeah.
And I always say, you know what? It's always best to go to your local realtor and discuss that with them as well. I can tell you what's happening on the lending side, but you also want to know what the local market's like and, for buyers out there. So I'm going to ask both of you, is it a good time to buy right now?
So my answer would be, if you are still employed, if you're not furloughed, I thought about this a little bit and I'm like, okay, right now it could be circumstantial, but it's probably circumstantial always. And when I think about it, like the example that I'm dealing with or have for the last couple of weeks was I got a call from someone, a referral, and she was given a 60-day notice. And I've been working with a lot of clients that have been given the 60-day notice. I was a little thrown back because of the COVID shutdown. You would be getting a 60-day notice now, but because it was the end of her lease and the owner wanted to move back into the home, she really had to find another place. And she said, should I buy? And I said, well, the interest rates are so low, and there's a lot of the no money down programs have been suspended, but I talked with her a little bit and realized she needed money for a down. And so I said, let's just try and see if you are qualified for it. And so she's a solid buyer, makes enough money for a payment to own a home. She's a teacher. So we got running and we found her a home. So for this person, it was definitely a time to buy. So there are people who are on the fence to buy. Well, maybe it's not time for you, but there are several circumstances. I also have You know, a client who had a car crash in front of their home, and they were uncomfortable in that neighborhood. So they're going to sell and buy. So they qualify to buy. They're unhappy with their situation where they are in that neighborhood. They're going to buy a home across town in a gated community. So there's circumstances. There are people who need to buy. They have situations where they want to buy. So for them, it is a time to buy. Is it a time for everyone? Maybe not.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, with everything that's happened with COVID, you know, people were like, should we wait? Should we, you know, wait it out and see what happens? But we're actually right now, we're seeing, because especially where we're at, things have kind of loosened up the restrictions, not just for realtors, but for the general public. And we're seeing a lot of pent up demand. We're seeing a lot more. We're about as busy right now as we were in January pre-COVID. And so we're not seeing anything that would indicate that there's, if anything, it's busier right now, both buying and selling. So,
Right.
you know, that's something to keep in mind too for buyers.
Absolutely. And we were discussing that prior. Right now, because of the whole COVID-19 and what's going on with the pandemic, the buying market actually kind of was delayed this year. We started seeing that come in more. You know, we usually see it in like March or so, right? Early March, right after tax season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't see that.
Right. And then usually for us, just here in our local market, we usually see a little bit of a kind of a slowdown or a plateauing heading out of May into June, when you know, kids are graduating and people start taking their vacations, and then they settle in again in late summer and early fall, and that starts to pick up. But right now, we haven't seen that because so many people, you know, everything that's happened with graduations, they're all virtual. So people are still at home. You know, and I don't know how their plans. I know that we'd planned on going on vacation this summer, but you know, the hotels aren't open. You know, and so it's just a different time. So all those cyclical patterns are much different right now. So yes, I think it's a really good time to buy. You know, so.
You brought a great point about vacationing, because I know that, you know, it's June and July. Usually those months, in August, actually July and August pretty much are vacation months. And you'll see a lot of people vacationing. It kind of slows down that buying and selling season right there in those 2 months. But, you know, with this whole pandemic going, I don't know if we're going to see that many people vacationing as much as we saw previous years. So, and that's going to leave opportunity for people that are going to buy or are going to sell to start thinking about that right now.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
So, yeah, so definitely the buying season is here. It's finally arrived, and now we get to see the other side of the whole coin. The sellers come to me also, and they say, "Hey, what's going on with this market? What do you think?" And I say, "Well, again, I'm the lender. I don't deal with sellers, but you both are realtors. You tell me, is this a good time for a seller to sell based on what's going on?"
We would like to see a few more sellers because we need inventory, but same thing, circumstantial, I think. You know, people have a lot of equity in their home, so they could sell and upgrade if they wanted. I know I have a couple clients doing that. You know, I had a client need to sell in the middle of the pandemic because she wanted to move to a mid-state to be with her family. It was just time. She was older and she was determined. She didn't care about the pandemic. We're talking 84 years old. She didn't care. She was something else. She was amazing. What a trooper. So, you know, there are several situations that cause someone to need to sell versus want to sell. So it just depends where people are right now. If there was an example of a woman who lost her husband in an automobile crash, and has a couple kids, couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. So she had to sell. So there are a lot of situations that cause people to have to sell. If they want to sell, that's up to them. Again, the interest rates are low. So they want to make sure they're qualified to buy another home before they sell, of course, especially in
Right.
this time. And we'll get into forbearance in a little bit, but there's all kinds of factors that, will allow a seller to sell and buy. But yeah, I would like to see a few more sellers. We need inventory.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's been really low inventory, even pre-COVID. It was very low. And then when COVID hit, I was watching it daily, the homes that were going on hold, a lot were being canceled, but most of the listings that were occupied, people weren't comfortable, back when we didn't know a whole lot. And so a lot of holds where a home is temporarily taken off market. We were seeing a lot of that, and now you're seeing some of that come back on. So we actually have a listing in Stockton, and we thought we were going to be able to list it, and we have no competition in the neighborhood. And before, we haven't listed it yet because our seller was preparing it and getting it ready. And now, in the meantime, I think there's been 4 other homes just in that general vicinity that have gone on the market. Yeah. So, we're seeing a lot of the stuff that was on pause during COVID.
Yeah, they're coming
now
back,
starting again.
Yeah, I hear you. So I know when we're looking at the real estate market, and this is it's an emotional purchase for a lot of people when they're trying to buy, and even the sellers when they're trying to sell, because a lot of them have memories in the house, and now they're going to have to move into another home, and are they going to find another home that's going to be suited to what they want and what they've always wanted in a home? So there's always some fear factor involved in these kind of things. So Dena and Jonathan, I want to come back to you guys and say, okay, a lot of people are fearful of what the future holds as far as this whole market. We talked about buyers, we talked about sellers, but in general, educate us a little bit about how we can settle some of those fears, and what's going on in this market that you foresee in the next 6 to 12 months maybe, and what your opinion of it is.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I guess I'm connected to the top 1%, and people like Mike Ferry, who's been around for 44 years, they've been through so much. You've been through so much over the years. You've seen a lot. Well, out there in the public where they don't have access to these people, I was surprised to hear in the last couple of weeks. I went to a home to do an open house live, and one of the workers painting there said, "Well, I don't know what you guys are thinking. We're crashing." And I said, "Why would you think that?" And he said, "Are you kidding me? This COVID thing, it's destroying. Did you see the stock market?" I go, "Well, the stock market's leveled back out. It's okay. And real estate, everything's fine." He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, there's no indicators that we're crashing." And he goes, "Really?" I said, "No, there's no indicators. For the one thing, we don't have loans in the past couple years, several years, that you only need to have a pulse to approve." I said, we haven't had any of those crazy loans. The other thing is, there's so much equity in most homes. Do you think people are going to leave homes with 50% equity? Do you think someone would run from 100,000? They're going to do everything they can to keep their homes. Another indicator that there's not going to be a crash is there's just too much demand for the supply. There's a lot of different things. There's several more. I can't think offhand, but there's no indicators that show we're crashing. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what's happening a year from now, but right now we're okay. The values are not going down. And another concern was a recession. Well, we're due for a recession, but as history shows, from 1980 to 2008, now the crash in 2008 was very rare, but 5 recessions prior, in between 1980 and 2008, values did not go down, but maybe one recession, and it was like 1.9%, which an example would be $300,000 home would have gone down to 295. So a recession does not mean values are crashing. And I think a lot of people have been on the fence, and through COVID, maybe some jumped ship and went MIA because they think, oh, we're crashing, I'm not going to pay top of the market. And so I hope that those facts settle some fears, so that if you're on the fence, you get off the fence, because we're dealing with historical low interest rates.
Yeah. And we've been hearing that from people, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. We heard that in 2014 and 2016, 2018. People say things all the time. These prices
look at all
are too
that
high, whatever.
equity that people made by going ahead and buying instead of being on the fence.
But as far as like things being different from 2008, I mean, they're, obviously, like Dena said, no one has a crystal ball, but there are real tangible differences between the market conditions in 2008 and today. I mean, they're stark differences. Like she talked about equity and the kinds of loans that were given out. And, that home that she talked about the client that we had who had to move to go be with her children in another state, that had sat on the market all through of January. And about, I think it was, I can't remember the exact date, but it was less than a week.
After the shutdown.
Yeah, it was after our state had shut down. We actually got 3 over asking for that. And so
I told her it's not going to happen, but it did.
It did, yeah. And
I said, you're not going to get full asking. It's a buyer's market.
And it did.
People are asking
Right.
for closing costs back.
So we're not seeing any indicators of anything like that. If you're a speculator, that's different. You got to figure that out for yourself. But I mean, if you're just a regular person buying or selling, the market conditions right now, if anything, they're better than they were in January. So
yeah, it's
absolutely
pretty strong.
And I always say it really comes down to, what, like you just said, Jonathan, about speculators. Speculators are investors. They're going to just sit and kind of wait and see when that, buying opportunity is going to be like, or that selling opportunity. But as a regular home buyer that you're going to live in the home, I always say your first home, or actually the home that you live in, your primary residence, I personally, in my opinion, I don't call it as an investment. I call it a living area. That's your living. That's where you live. It's not an investment. So what happens to the market, whether it goes up or down? I always say, are you buying this home to sell it in 2-3 years? If you are, then yeah, you may want to pay attention to what's going on. But if you're buying a home to settle down in and live in, then this is your home. Let's say 2-3 years from now, we don't know what's going to happen to the market. Let's say there is a correction and your house value declines a little bit. Are you going to pick up and run and sell? No, because where are you going to go? Are you going to go out and rent again?
Sure.
You're not going to go out and rent again, because you're going to put money in the rental market that's always increasing year by year.
Yeah.
I've never seen rent, corrected and say, oh, we're going to give you a special, $500 off this year on your lease. It doesn't work like that.
No, I think.
But if you've got it,
yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's the way that most people look at it. I think that what's happened is just because 2008 was such an extraordinary event and it affected so many regular people. I mean, usually stock market crashes are something far away in New York, but regular everyday people experienced it in a real palpable way. People lost their homes. And so I think that sort of haunts, in
it's like a mental thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're an investor, then yeah, you need to be careful in these times. But you buy and sell a home, or buying a home is something you do not as an investment for the regular everyday people. And over time, housing prices always go up.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and that could be actually a future investment. Let's just say if you're ever wanting to upgrade to a different home, Now, when you're looking to upgrade, you can keep that home that you bought as your primary residence and move into a different primary residence. Now you've got an investment here on your hand.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I call when you start having more than one unit or more than one property, that's what your investment portfolio is going to be like. And that's how you build it in real estate.
Yeah.
You know? So, but I always say it comes down to the rates. And I just wanted to briefly talk about what the rates are doing. The rates are just phenomenal right now. And that's why, in my opinion, this is probably the best opportunity that anybody has out there to contact both of you, especially if you're in a Central Valley market area, to discuss your options of what you can do to buy. Because with rates being in the in the twos, in the upper twos, and they're hovering between the upper twos to the low threes on a 30-year fixed. You know, FHA is in the upper twos. I mean, if you can get a FHA loan for a first-time home buyer coming in with 3.5% down, or even getting that 3.5% down as a gift from your family member or relative, you know, getting yourself into a home with the upper twos in rates, what else do you want? I mean, at that point, I don't care what the price of the home is. Yeah, absolutely. You know, so you take advantage of that time. You know, you don't have these rates. I've been doing financing for the past 20 years, and I have never seen the rates this low.
Wow.
Bottom line, I mean, this low, I've never seen them, even in heyday when the market was going crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, that's why I say if you're in the market to buy a home, but through financing, you really have to pay attention to what the rates are doing, because that rate that goes from 3%, so let's just say it jumps to 5% on a $300,000 home, can take your payment up by about $300.
Wow.
So that $300 difference on a 2% leeway, difference between the rates is huge for a lot of home buyers.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like you want to pay attention. If you're paying cash, ball's in your court. You've got leverage. You know, you can do whatever you want. But when you're getting financing, rates is the key thing. And you want to make sure you take advantage of it when it's dipping. And this is really the time to buy, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Yeah. No, I know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and you talk about that rate. I mean, that's a difference in price too.
Yeah.
In that in the price of the home. So I mean, you can wait
buy more for your money.
and say, well, everything's coming down, but then what happens with the rates over time too? You know, I saw something. I think it was something that Marker posted that because I've heard that rates used to be a lot higher. You know, and it was early 80s, and it was over 10%. And it's like I've heard that. My parents have told me that, and it's like I didn't believe it. It's like over 10% for a home loan on a 30-year mortgage. It's unbelievable. You know,
prices were lower, but
well, but still, I mean, adjusted for inflation, it's unbelievable that rates could have been that high. So yeah,
I remember my parents when they bought their first in Chicago. When we bought our first condo, it was a condo, and this was back in the 80s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember quite then, but it was, I think, a 16% rate. That's something ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So go figure. It's 16%. We're paying 3% now.
Right.
It's like, okay.
I had an adjustable in the 90s that went to 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
No. So, going from 3 to 3.25 or 3.5 is not a big, huge difference. So take advantage of it. You know?
For sure.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, I know you had you wanted to touch a little bit on forbearance and what that's doing on the market, and I have some information about that too. So
sure. So that's something that's been talked about a lot. I think people have questions about it. First of all, what it is exactly, but more so for the everyday mortgage holder, what does it mean for their mortgage, first of all, and then what does it mean maybe for their credit and their ability to buy in the future? Just briefly, if you could, what you know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a mix of different guidelines, and there was a lack of guidelines when these when the forbearance stuff came out with this COVID-19 pandemic that we've been going through. When they originally CARES Act, when it came out, there were no set guidelines on how we're going to repay this, or what's going to happen during the forbearance period if somebody goes into a deferment. All that was kind of vague and just kind of out there.
Yes.
And everybody, all the servicers were kind of scrambling around trying to figure out, how do we deal with this? So the one thing I do want to mention, a statistic that is more calming now, is that the forbearance numbers have stabilized.
Right.
So right now, as of this past week, we're actually seeing more flattening in the request for forbearances, which was a data that Black Knight, it's a data provider for economic data and analytics for real estate and mortgage industries. They noted that the slowdown has definitely flattened with the way the mortgage forbearance requests have been coming in, which is great news, phenomenal news right there. But now we're more into the forbearance pipeline management rather than the forbearance pipeline growth of what they had. Okay, so now what we're seeing more clarity from the CARES Act as far as guidelines. So before, when this first came out, they were saying that people that were in forbearance or in a deferred plan or in type of a modification could not buy or get a loan for a house or refinance until 12 months of paid current payments have been made after the forbearance period. So if you've got a 12-month forbearance period and another 12 months of waiting for current payments to go through for you, that's another 2 years to be able to get yourself into a refi if you wanted to take advantage of the rates or buy another property. And of course, these are homeowners, so if they can't do anything to buy, they can't put their house for sale. So that was causing issues.
Yep.
But not anymore. As of Tuesday of this last week, FHFA, which is the Federal Housing Finance Agency, announced that Fannie and Freddie and all the GSEs, anything that you're going to be, giving opportunity for buyers to buy, that are homeowners, they can actually still refi or buy another home as long as they have 3 consecutive on-time payments after their forbearance period or deferral period or modification has passed. Okay, which is huge. It shaves off about 9 months.
Yes.
Yeah. So that right there will make you as a buyer, or if you're trying to refinance, easier now because they put that guideline in there. Okay. So keep that in mind. And what was also said, that there was a lot of people that were homeowners, they went into this forbearance just because they heard from their family friend or their neighbor, oh, I'm not going to make a payment, and it's a great opportunity to save some money. Mm-hmm. Well, that was all misinformation, because your payment doesn't get eliminated. You still pay, whether it's now or later, you're going to pay.
Pushed out.
So a lot of people went into this forbearance not because they couldn't make the payments, but because just it was offered to them and they could take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, technically by accident.
Right.
So.
And then the last, go ahead.
Just the last thing I want to touch on is for people that were in that situation that went into forbearance because they were just put there by accident, but they were still making their payments. Those people, they can actually refinance or buy as long as they're showing that they're current on a mortgage.
Cool.
Okay, well that's good.
Okay, yeah.
So even if they like negotiated a forbearance, as long as they kept making their principal their payments, then it doesn't show as forbearance.
It's still going to show as forbearance, and that's another thing that they're still working on, because some of the creditors are still reporting it on the credit report as forbearance or natural disaster relief or other verbiage. But the guideline says now that if you have been on time and making your payments during your forbearance period, and you've actually been still making your mortgage payment, as long as you're showing current on your mortgage through the servicer or the lender, then you're able to buy or refinance without waiting any months after.
All right. Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Cool.
Yeah, that was pretty much what that was. Yeah, as far as the forbearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, people with all this whole situation with COVID and all of the stuff that came up, that was something that I didn't have clarity on when it first happened, and so it's good to hear from you some of the details from an
Yeah,
expert.
Totally.
absolutely.
When it was happening, several lenders were going online and they looked so distraught over it, and they're begging people not to do it because of the ramifications that the possibilities were, but it's because things were unclear.
Yeah. And that was the thing. When the CARES Act first came out, it really helped, definitely. I mean, they did an excellent job on trying to keep this going and not crashing and nothing, happening to the economy as a major effect, even though, unemployment rates and stuff, but that's just natural to what's going on.
Right.
But, when they came out with that, it was just kind of just like a fireball, just get it out there. And now we're seeing more guidelines. And that's why there was a lot of lending activities or lenders that were nervous and started suspending temporarily a lot of programs that were out there.
Yes.
And, I was looking at, and I kept, it was a point where every hour I'd get an email from one of my lenders that their guidelines have changed, or they're suspending this product and suspending that product. So it brought me back memories to 2008, and I started like shaking a little bit. But then
you were not the only one. Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah. But then I kind of slapped myself across the face. I said, come on, Ray, you can do better than this. Get back to normal.
Just get back to work. Just keep moving.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's, but we're starting to see back, normal stuff coming back. All the overlays from these lenders that were originally put because of the COVID-19 now have been eliminated. We're seeing programs come back. Even first-time homebuyers, programs like no down payment, they're also coming back.
Those are coming back. You said for you probably in June.
Yes, just next month.
Perfect.
We should be rolling out with that. So, absolutely. So there's definitely opportunity for that too.
Perfect.
So one thing I do want to, we're almost done here, and I want to just to kind of maybe touch a little bit about, some stuff about you both and what separates you. Like, give me 3 things that separate
you.
you.
A list. It's so much longer.
I know, and we want to keep it short. So let's go with 3 things.
So one of the things that I can think of, I'm huge on video, so that's a really, it's a plus.
You're a natural.
I really love video. I'm obsessed. I am so grateful Kevin pushed me to do it. I do seminars and now webinars. I do whatever it takes to stay present on social media platforms and with my clients. I'm texting and sending postcards and, all kinds of stuff all the time. I don't know that it's like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm better than anybody else, but what we try to do is stand out. And so video and open house, live tours, I love doing those. Another thing, number 2 for me, and then Jonathan, I'm going to leave for number 3. I'll start it and you can end with it. But, a lot of agents feel showing clients homes that are not pre-approved is a waste of time. That has never been a waste of time for me. In fact, it has made my business explode because preparing someone for that dream come true is absolutely amazing for them. If somebody says, I'm interested, I just don't know if I can buy a home. Well, let's get you in the mood. Let's try. And 95% of the time, I'll get them in contract.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I never think anything's a waste of time, only opportunity. And so I think that has set me apart from a lot of agents. Number 3 is we do so much more than I don't know anybody. Maybe someone I mentor will. Jonathan, we've moved families, like literally physically, because they had no one to help.
We build relationships with our clients. I mean, a real estate purchase, it's a long, it can be 30 to 60 days. And it's a long time that you're spending time with these people. And we've had situations where literally we had it was a seller and she was buying and she didn't have anybody to help her move. And so we moved her into a storage and then we moved her out of storage into her house, and that's.
Yeah, that's just one. I mean, we've done it several times.
Yeah.
But landscaping, painting, we get on the roof. I mean, we do whatever it takes to make things happen for our clients.
Yeah. And as far as like for sellers, I mean, we have such great support through Marker Real Estate and their social media. We're able to, advertise throughout all of California for our listings. They're very present on social media. And
the e-blast, the flyers they put together. I mean, we have some really cool marketing things that we can do.
And don't you guys have a large database of buyers because of all the marketing?
Yes.
Yeah.
The e-blast.
So you have access to these buyers
thousands of buyers.
No other companies probably have.
No, Kevin got into the lead generation game way before anyone probably. And so he has a huge database all through California. So if my client, I've nailed a listing because I have said, we can send, your flyer, your listing to thousands of people, not just in the Central Valley, but the Bay Area. Their eyes just get so huge. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So Marker has definitely opened the doors to more listings because of that.
And that's really especially important for our area because we have so many people coming from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I mean, this area is like the bedroom community for everyone who commutes to the San Francisco Bay Area. And so that's really important that we're able to get exposure in those areas for people coming east. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, both of you have a very calming nature. So if I'm a buyer and seller, I'd be very comfortable in knowing that you guys would take care of us. So.
We're calm and we're fun. We keep everything exciting and moving forward.
There you go. Hey, you know what? I always say work is work, but you got to have some fun while you're doing some work.
Absolutely. Hey, it's
Just
a roller coaster.
She's pure fun. She's pure fun.
Always
all right, guys.
Seatbelts on.
Hey, tell me, with these seatbelts, how is somebody going to contact you if they're wearing seatbelts? What are they going to do?
Well,
how do you want people to contact you?
I have so many calls coming in. The best way, if I can't pick up all my calls, I actually rather people text because I've got like a map of their name, their why they're calling and all of that good stuff. So my phone number, get it in your contacts and text me at 209-481-0162.
Awesome. Jonathan?
And you can call me. That's fine. You don't have to text me. My phone number is 209-662-1564. And my email is jonathanmoore@markersf.com. So
awesome. And you'll see that number and stuff on the screen too.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you've got a great team, one that you can communicate through text, if you want to be comfortable with text, and you've got Jonathan that'll take you and talk to you and get you on the phone.
Anyway.
Oh, well, I'll call them back. Believe me. I do love to talk on the phone, but
awesome.
If they, a lot of times when they call and they don't leave me a message, then I don't know who's called, and the calls, they get drowned, they get lost.
Yeah.
So I just do best with text, just so I have their information, and I will call them right back for sure.
Awesome. I'm sure you guys will, because I've got great communication with both of you, so that's definitely awesome. Any final words before we wrap up here?
Just Thank you so much, my friend. I've had a good time getting to know you, and I hope to work with you, especially because you've got the No Money Down programs coming in June. I look forward to working with you.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to working with you guys too. So, as you all can see, this was an excellent segment from Dena and Jonathan, and I really hope it has been highly informative for everybody out there that's watching. We strive to bring on guests that are professionally exceptional in the real estate and in the loan industry. And Dena and Jonathan, I just want to say that I really appreciate both of you here being on my guest on my Real Loan Experts show. And everyone else, I thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, from myself, Ray Warda, and my two exceptional realtors here from Central Valley, Dena and Jonathan, we say until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and be extraordinary in anything that you do. Take care, my friends.